Welcome everyone, I'm Callie, this is One Actual. Today we're doing another FAM flight. I have Alex with us. Welcome Alex, how are you?
Good man. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a while since I've been able to do a live stream. I've been on vacation, which was nice. And got to take a moment to go see some places I've wanted to. And now I get to come back and do what I also enjoyed home, which is flying DCS. I like doing FAM flights because I get to learn about you. I get to show us the kind of teamwork that we enjoy doing and learn a little bit more about you and maybe some of your experiences and how they compare. So we are VFA 192. We are the Hornet Squadron as part of One Actual. And we have actually 4 flying squadrons. There's VFA 192. There's the Black Sheep, which fly Harriers. We have the 124th that flies F-16s. And we have a Red Air squadron that flies profiled Red Air, and they have their own missions, but it gives us something better than the AI can do, although we have some really good scripters that seem to do some pretty cool magic. One Actual, we have a lot of toys in the sandbox. We are very fortunate here. We have several real-world JTACs we work with. The beauty of that is you get to do teamwork at another level. The downside is you got to fly to the realistic levels because we're committed to giving those guys real-world positive, well, okay, not real-world, flying real-world standards to give them positive reps so that when they're being evaluated or downrange, that we don't interfere with their training. And we've worked out some ways to do that. So it's a little bit extra work, but it's fun. We also have some air intercept control guys that we do real AIC stuff with. We try to run tower and marshal when we can. This has been the hardest spots to fill. We really like having that. It's very immersive, but it's also just been a difficulty to have consistently. Try to have command and control, and we operate a lot off the boat, mostly off the boat. We're fortunate we have a lot of really good mission makers. This is just an example of a mission we did with some large force movements. And we flew a mission with some JTACs in support of this movement, and it just kind of gives you an idea of some of the detail level they get into. Have you ever seen these symbols before?
Some of them.
Yeah, these are the official symbols that represent the different things that you see here. So anyhow, the intent is to get to know each other, determine some baselines where training could start. There's not really a pass or fail, but we do feel pretty strong that you got to know the jet, because I can't teach you the jet and what we do at the same time. That's just too much. It's going to be clear, unlimited visibility, light winds, weather's not a factor. The comm plan. All of our communications are on channel 1 on comm. I'm sorry, all of our inter-flights. So me and you will be talking on channel 1 on comm 2. And we would call that 1 on the right. So we just say right or left. Any control authority, which we don't have one today, would be on comm 1. Anything between flights is on mids 19. We don't have any other flights with us today. We do have an official comm plan. We don't need to really worry about this. I'll tell you what channels to go to. You don't need to have this at all. The flight plan in general, we're going to take off from Ryak. We're going to head out on runway heading. I'll have you form up on me. Once we get down here, a little bit past where you can see on the screen, we're going to turn back up and head over to this range. The range here at Meza is just a pretty standard range. There's no air-to-air threats. There's no anything to be concerned with other than we're going to get into a left-hand pattern. So think of keeping your shoulder like where the waypoint is, staying about 6 to 8 miles away, and we'll be flying a bingo profile. This way we can talk on targets and you should always be able to see them. Does that make sense?
I just want to. So, bingo profile, is that max endurance?
Yeah, so there is for range and for endurance, and we're going to be going for endurance. I'll mention that when we get in the air to, hey, we're going to fly endurance while we're going around in circles. I'm just saying it again now so that you understand the general flight idea that we're going to do. We're going to get in the overhead and we're going to talk onto some targets is what we're going to do.
Sounds good.
Okay. The mission is really just range operations. We're going to do some target talk-ons. We're going to use grid. 3 brevity terms you may have heard before. Contact is acknowledges sighting of a specific reference point, either visual or via sensor. So if I told you to contact the M in mission up here, you would say have contact on the M. If I said slew your targeting pod to the east until you come to the dragon symbol, you would say contact. If I said the dragon symbol is your target, you would say capture. And capture of a specific surface target or object has been acquired as being tracked by an onboard sensor. We don't use capture for friendlies. We only use capture for things that we are targeting. So if you're going to see a friendly, that would be blind or visual versus capture as a target. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Looking's pretty obvious. You're just looking. All right, so when we have controllers and whatnot, we'll run mode 3. This actually needs to be changed. Yours is going to be 1712, and your laser code is going to be 1712. Our bingo's 4000. Our divert is going to be Ramat, TACAN 84. Hopefully we don't have to use that. This is going to be our loadout. Pretty basic. Any questions on these?
No, sir.
All right. So you've probably flown parade before, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So to be clear, parade is less than 50 feet, and you're putting this wingtip to the little star and stripe under my nose over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're flying in a 3-ship, here's a small quiz question. Which one of these ships are you actually referencing when you fly off of them?
The second man.
This guy?
Yes.
No, you fly off lead.
Is it? Okay.
So you see how I'm actually flying and I have my tip of my missile where I want it to be?
Mm-hmm.
He does not. He's slightly out of position by the smallest amount. If we were all lined up, those would all be here. If he's chasing him and I'm chasing, 2, then I'm far more trying to do a lot of work in the jet than if I just chase 1. Right?
Makes sense.
Now, sometimes in close parade formation, like around the boat, if somebody's doing a really good job and you're in a turn, you might have a hard time seeing lead. So you may have to fly off of 2, but mostly you fly off of 1. All right, cruise is a second form. You've ever flown cruise before?
Yes.
So cruise is 100 to 1,000 feet. Your wingtip is to my nose, and it looks something like this. The idea here is you have freedom of movement left and right. So if I'm making a left-hand turn and you want to go inside, you can go inside, no problem. If you want to go outside, whatever. It's your job to deconflict us and have that bit of room. And again, if you need to go out 1,000 feet, because we're going to be doing some stuff in the cockpit, you have that freedom. Questions?
Nope.
Okay. All right. If there are no questions, let's go ahead and jump into. Why is that doing that? Let's jump into DCS and select our roles and go do the flight.
Sounds good.
I just have to find the slots again. Here we go. All right. Okay, so once you're in, let me know you're in, and we'll do a comm check, and we'll come off of Discord, and we'll just use SRS.
I am in.
Radio check 1 on the right.
Lima Charlie.
Okay, I think we actually have 2 Mavericks on here. Go ahead and dump those Maverick. That's a mistake.
Happy to just bring the inboard double racks.
Yeah, exactly. Request rearming. Request rearming.
Cut those Mavericks off.
Okay, I forgot my voice attack messes up after an update. And being that I haven't flown in a while, it's an issue, so good thing I don't need it for the carrier. I'm just going to have to drop my Mavericks after I take off. Alright, I'm good to go. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm good to go.
Alright, just follow me. We'll taxi. You ever done a section takeoff before?
That'd be side by side, I believe so.
You're going to go ahead and when you're behind me, let me know. I'm going to go ahead and take the left side of the runway. You'll take the right. Just line up like you would in parade with the missile tip showing on that star and stripe.
Copy, I am set behind you. Set.
Okay, so the way they're going to do this is I'm going to tell us to run them up, so we'll put brakes on, go to 80% RPM. I'm going to take off, and then 10 seconds later you take off. When you're up, just say wheels up. I'm going to fly runway heading here about 220, about 300 knots. I'm just going to be in a climb. Try to get us above or under those clouds up there so you don't have to fly through a cloud. And then just get in parade formation as close as you are comfortable.
Copy.
Okay, run them up. One is set.
2 set.
One rolling.
Two, wheels up.
And then just let me know when you're comfortable and saddled on my right.
Copy, you said you were going to hold 300 in the box?
Yeah, just about 300. I'm a little below that right now. It's kind of strange because I haven't flown in like 11 days. And so here we are. I would normally go warm up on my own, but let's do it. I'm about 285 in the box now. I'm going to slow down a bit because I was at 100.
Copy, I'm sliding up now.
Going to reduce our climb a bit here. For anyone watching the live stream, if you have questions, just type them in. I'll try to answer them as I can. Obviously, I need to focus on this flight. just slide up as close as you're comfortable. I'm going to level us off here at 20,000. Okay, so just so we're making sure we're doing radio stuff, the way I would tell you to change channels, I say flight push 6 left. So flight push 6 left, that means push channel 6 on radio 1.
Copy. You want me to push over now?
Yep, stay on this channel for inner flight, but go to channel 6 on comm 1. I always look for this part to see if they're used to changing channels or anything while in formation. It is something that's required when we're going through different comms procedures, especially around the boat. Okay, are you on channel 6?
Confirm.
Alright, go ahead and go to cruise. The next thing we'll do is we'll have him fence in. And just see how comfortable he is with that. Being a little bit more out, you can do more heads down things. Flight fence in.
Two's fenced in, 11.4.
Copy, and make sure you turn off your lights. Part of the fence acronym is emissions, and lights are part of it. Alright, we're going to make a left-hand turn. And go ahead and get contact on waypoint 6 in your jet. Just let me know when you have contact on it.
Stand by, I'm masked. So managed to lose visual on you somehow. Oh, never mind. Got you. In contact.
Okay, just resume cruise. We're going to turn in. So the big thing here is teamwork. We're going to do a lot of teamwork. I'm not sure how much air-to-ground teamwork you've done before, but it'd be a good introduction to some of the things that we do. We also do it air-to-air, like we mentioned in the brief, but we start here because it's a little bit easier domain to control.
Absolutely.
Alright, when we get to 20 miles to the target, I want you to descend and hold Angels 19.
Copy, descend and hold 19 at 20 miles.
I'm going to roll us out here. On the targeting pod, I'm going to show you a little trick that can prevent some issues from happening because it's kind of a DCS-ism. So, sensor control in the direction of the targeting pod to get the diamond up there in the top right.
Copy.
TDC depress.
Copy.
Sensor control in the direction of the targeting pod again until you get to scene mode, where you have kind of the staple looking thing on the top and bottom.
Copy.
That sequence of events, if you waypoint designate, and then you slew the targeting pod, and you change the mode, so you go from scene mode to auto or whatever, sometimes it'll go back to the original waypoint designation and screw up your targeting pod from where you intended it to be. So doing that helps fix that bug. I don't know if you ever experienced that problem before.
Believe that. Said 1712 for codes, correct?
Yes, sir. Have you ever done talk-ons before with a targeting pod?
To some extent.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to get over here, we're going to come to the target, a little bit offset, we're going to put the target to our left so that we can come over here, make that left-hand turn, keep our left shoulder facing the target, and be about 6 to 8 miles away in a circle, and we'll be flying Endurance, which for me is showing Mach 0.54, but we won't do that until we get a bit closer.
Copy.
We'll see if he remembers at 20 miles.
Passing through 20 now, want me to go ahead and start descending?
Yep, go ahead, do Angels 19. And then just let me know when you're established, Angels 19.
Choose establish, Angels 19.
And did you turn IFF on?
IFF is on.
And did you turn data link on?
Affirm on data link.
That's weird because I'm not getting a I'm not getting you on SA page with a alpha character.
Not seeing you on SA either.
I just cycled data link. Oh, you know what? With the new data link system that I haven't messed with because I've been gone, is there something else I have to do to set it up if it's not already done?
It's nothing that I'm aware of.
I forgot all about that. Alright, I'm going to slow down to bingo and let me know when you're established in the overhead and ready for a talk on. I'm not in bingo, I'm slow down to endurance.
I should be established and ready. Showing about 7 miles out. I'm gonna keep offsetting and then start my orbit whenever I get a little bit further out.
Okay. So you have contact on waypoint 6?
Affirm.
Alright, from waypoint 6, I want you to slew north until you come in contact with a taxiway.
Contact.
Alright, I want you to slew west about 100 meters until north of the taxiway you see a ramp with 6 vehicles on it lined up in a formation where they're front to back.
In contact.
Those vehicles, can you identify which direction they're facing?
They appear to be facing southeast.
And do you know what those vehicles are? They're Smirches.
Look like MLRS?
Yep. So the southeast most target is your target. Or the southeast most vehicle is your target.
Capture.
Alright, one of the most important phases is correlation. Correlation is a phase where we're going to distinguish what we're looking at from anything else to make sure that what we intend to explode is what explodes. So if I were to give correlation on this, I would say that I have the southeast most vehicle. There are no vehicles to the south or to the east of that vehicle. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. You could also say that I have the southeast most vehicle, I have one vehicle to my west and one vehicle to the north. Just anything that lets me know of those 6 vehicles which one we're talking about, right?
Copy. So for this, with saying out of those 6 vehicles parked in formation, the one closest to waypoint 6, is that kind of the gist, or not quite?
You could... Pod if you can. But if you need to use, hey, it's closest to waypoint 6 because that's the only thing you got or something that can be referenced, that's fine.
Got it. That makes sense. Just anything to uniquely identify it.
Yep. So what I want you to do is I want you to push out north, and you're going to be able to come in from the north to the south. Now, when you say coming in from the north to the south, with cardinal directions generally speaking like that, the clearance typically means that you have the ability to come in a 45-degree window left or right of that. I'm going to say go ahead and come in from the north, call in with your heading, so you would just say in 180 and be as close to 180 as possible, but you don't have to be perfect.
Copy. Do you guys call outbound as well?
For this, just call in. In a cast scenario, you might say something about, you know, departing the IP or something. But for this, just simply state that you are in with a heading.
Copy. I'm going to keep flowing outbound just to the north a little bit more so I can get a decent inbound heading, but I'll update whenever I'm on my way.
Yep. Yeah, the whole idea here is in a cast scenario you would have restrictions on where you can fly. You'd have restricted headings for your inbound, and we're just touching the surface of that.
No worries, understood. Two's inbound, 190.
Cleared hot.
We cleared hot, 40 seconds to drop.
I always blow up the target next to him just to see if they notice. Not really a pass-fail thing, it's just more if they happen to notice.
Two, paveway.
Good hits. Go ahead and slew to the next vehicle to your west. Call capture.
Capture next vehicle to the west.
Alright, go ahead and push out to north again. Call inbound with your heading. Expect clearance on file. You don't need to tell me time of fall. We're not doing I'm not lasing for you. So just call in with heading, and then let me know when you have one away.
Copy.
Alright, I'm going to get my grid set up for him. Pass him a grid for the next target. Checking to make sure he's holding his altitude block at 19,000, and he is. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, and this is my fault. When you're dropping an ordnance, you can get up to like 350 knots because you need some kinetic energy for that.
Got it. Basically, once you make that turn to inbound, you can stop the endurance and then drop it back whenever you get off.
Target, so I would just get up to 350 knots, head out, and then come back in. And once shacked, depending on your instructions, you could go back in the overhead, or whatever. And in that case, you go back to endurance.
Got it.
The idea there is we want to maximize playtime in the AO.
Yeah, absolutely.
For anyone who's watching, if you've got a question, type it in chat. I'll try to answer. Obviously, I'm going to focus on my FAM flight here.
Inbound 170.
Cleared hot.
Bayway.
Once we confirm shock or not, go ahead and get back in the overhead and let me know when you're ready for a grid.
Right, check.
Yep, I confirm. Good effects.
Right, I am ready for a grid. Do you guys use precise or standard?
We're going to be using both, but today the first one is a 6-digit grid.
Copy.
So we're going to be looking for a jet. Your grid is 37 Sierra Bravo Tango 410073, elevation 2381 feet.
You repeat the grid. I got Bravo Tango 417, missing the last 3.
It's Bravo Tango 410073, elevation 2381 feet.
Bravo Tango 410073. Can you repeat elevation?
2381 feet.
Copy. Grid 37 Sierra Bravo Tango 410073. Elevation 2318 feet.
Readback's correct.
Hey there, guys. Yellow. My apologies, dude. Okay.
And let me know when you have contact.
Wait 1 moment. I'm masked. Contact that jet.
And can you identify what it is and tell me what direction it's facing?
Standby 1, masked again.
I would get yourself set up in a position where you're just making that constant left-hand turn, and you won't ever be masked.
Yeah, I got a little bit out of position, head down to punch in that grid, but
Yeah, one of the best tricks for that is kind of like checking your, scanning your gauges. I just get myself in a left-hand turn about 15 degrees, and I look down every so often and just kind of adjust my roll left or right to maintain that position.
copy. That jet appears to be a Frogfoot. Looks to be west or northwest.
Affirm. And are there any other aircraft like it around?
Affirm. There appear to be additional Frogfoots on other pads. This is the last one next to the taxiway to the runway.
Okay. I would say this is the westmost jet, that there is several jets in a line, and this is the westmost. Does that make it a little more clear?
Copy. So this jet in reference to the other jets.
Yeah, or anything. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is on the farthest west side of the runway, something.
Copy.
Alright, go ahead and push out to the north. 8 miles, call in with your heading, expect clearance on final.
Copy. Inbound 175.
Cleared hot.
Paveway.
Did that not have good effect?
I don't believe so. I don't know if that bomb tracked. I saw it hit. I believe it hit nearby.
Okay. We can look on TechView. Go ahead and get established in the overhead, and I have a 8-digit grid for you when you're ready.
I am ready for that grid.
Your grid is Bravo Tango 4225 0811, elevation 2350 feet. You were looking for a bomber.
Repeat elevation, please.
2358 feet.
37 Sierra Bravo Tango 4225 0811, elevation 2358 feet.
Readback's correct. So the trick here is an 8-digit grid can't be entered, only a 6 or a 10, so you have to add zeros after each of those first 4 numbers.
Capture single bomber. And multiple bombers.
Copy. Can you describe to me their orientation in relation to each other and the runway?
Copy pasted. The 3 times bombers all in a line. I have the middleman out of the group.
Okay. I would add that I have 2 of them on a taxiway that are facing the runway, and I have 1 that's farther back on a taxiway facing, what would that be, like southwest or something?
Copy.
Okay. The middle bomber is your target. Go ahead and push out to the north 8 miles, call in with your heading, expect clearance on final.
Copy. Inbound 185.
Cleared hot.
Headway.
Maintain your heading, looks like good effects.
Copy, maintain current heading.
Okay, you see me here on your right?
Hey, from?
Alright, I'm going to slide forward. And I'm going to slow us down a bit. And go ahead and get into cruise. I'm going to roll us out at 222 here. And then I'm going to give us a right-hand turn. And we're going to descend on down to this valley. Go ahead and fence out.
Tooth fenced out 7.5.
Lead 7.1. You ever done an overhead brake before?
Yes, I don't remember the numbers exactly, but I've got gist.
So what we're going to do is we're going to stay cruise. I'm going to get us down into this valley. I'm not going to go with my engines less than about 75%, meaning you should never have to use your speed brake because that's a blunt tool versus a throttle. We're going to get down the valley. We can establish on the runway heading about 10 miles out, have you get up to Parade. When we get to Parade, we're going to come in over the runway and we're going to do a brake. Now it's going to be separated by 10 seconds, so I will brake first. You will look at 10 seconds in your HUD in the bottom left, and then 10 seconds later you'll brake. When I brake, we go 0 throttle, we go speed brake on, and you're going to pull just about 1% of G for speed. So if you are 300 knots, you do about 3 Gs, maybe a little less. Roll out on the reciprocal to the runway heading, which will be 220 when you roll out, and get your speed brake off and your gear down at 250 knots.
Copy. So same thing for a carrier brake, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. It's a little more gradual in the pull.
Copy. Whenever we move to Parade, do I need to be on your right so that you can brake?
Yeah, I'll call it out for you.
Copy.
So the big thing here is just being smooth and timing and getting down in a way that clears the airspace with some level of quickness, right? You know, I don't care how close you fly Parade or how perfect the turn is. We really just need a deconflict. That's the main thing.
Copy.
We can do all those other things later. Yeah, as a flight lead, I take a big responsibility in making sure you know what's coming, what we're doing, what the plan is, and how we're going to get into or out of any particular situation. Again, with cruise right now, you have freedom of either side. So if you're not on my right side, when I tell you to go to Parade, I'll tell you to go to the right.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and slide over just while I've got some space to maneuver.
Yeah, and we can brake left or right, just most people are used to left, so I don't make it hard on them. Is there another F-18 down there?
I was getting that return as well. I didn't know if it was you and it's just a DCS bug or something similar.
Any other F-18s out at Ryak?
I believe there were 2 other slots. I don't know if anyone's in them, though.
I would hope someone would tell me. Well, if there is another F-18 out there, and you're human, which there shouldn't be any AI, so I have to make sure there's no issues. We're coming in. We'll be coming in generally from the south, and we're going to be doing a left-hand overhead brake for a full stop.
Altitude. Altitude.
Alright, when you're comfortable, come on up to parade on my right side.
Saddled.
And 1 is clear active.
Two, clear the active. Alright, let's hop out and debrief. See ya.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Alright, my man. So, what did you think of that?
Some areas that need improvement. Overall, I think it went pretty well. I think more time practicing with formation, that's kind of difficult to do with the AI or by yourself. I
It's
could definitely
impossible.
use some more time. Yeah. Definitely use more time. Rejoining expeditiously. I know it took me a while to get up to you, and then just holding and being comfortable in parade. And then the other things that stood out to me, that third drop, I don't know if it didn't track. I'm almost certain I had my laser on, but, craftsman and all that. So it's entirely possible that I did it wrong. And then the field overhead brake, I pulled too hard. So I ended up inside of you whenever we were going downwind. But I was able to extend a little bit and correct for that, so.
Yeah. I think I made a mistake when I joined with you that my speed brake was on. I was like, why am I having to put so much power? And I was like, oh shit, my speed brake is on. So, just silly little mistake. Yeah, I mean, I felt like, overall pretty good job. We'll go through some of those details. I guess before we get into that, I'm curious, two things. One, like, what did you like about the flight?
So the big things that were new for me, talk-ons, kind of talking on to targets, identifying targets, and then what was the term you used?
Oh, correlation.
Correlation, yes. So those are new to me. At least kind of. I've done talk-ons, I'm familiar with how it works, but not to that extent. And then, just doing formation, like it's good practice. I don't get to do it often, so.
Yeah, so the talk-on phase, and I'll bring this up just so that we're on the same page here about where that comes from. But the talk on phase really, so if you see this here, there's actually 12 different steps to doing close air support. And when you're doing the 9 line, once you get through, all of this administrative kind of stuff of what are you talking about, where you're going, what is the specific information, right? And you get through all the 9 lines, step 8 is actually correlation up here. Mm-hmm. And so correlation is just a really big part of making sure that we're putting the right bang on the right target, right? Close air support, if you think about it in context, you have a JTAC on the ground who's oriented to the situation. You're flying a jet up high at speed. You don't have the same situational awareness or contextual problems that they are facing, right? What is the biggest challenge that they have at their hand at the moment? So correlation just is one of those extra steps in that process. Of course, this FAM flight doesn't cover any of this stuff, right? I'm just letting you know where it comes from and why we do that. And once it's correlated and you have gone from contact to capture, meaning the target, you know what it is. Now we're in the phase of, hey, how do I do this safely and where do we go out? So let's go through the flight. Actually, was there anything you didn't like about the flight? I don't mean like your mistakes or anything, but just anything in general about the flight that you just didn't enjoy.
Nothing stands out to me, at least not right now. Nothing comes to mind.
Okay. And then when we're done, I'll ask you if there's anything I could have done to be a better flight lead. So we do a takeoff 10 seconds apart. 300 knots is a little fast. It makes it harder for you to catch up, so I kind of slowed down a little bit. I think in the future I'll just hold about 375. We got you here, and we had you change channels. Little bit of movement, not too bad. The main thing here is, if we were doing full comm procedures when we came back to the airfield, we might be changing radios. I might need you in parade. So I wouldn't ask you to fence in or go heads down in the targeting pod, but I would ask you to be able to change channels, right?
Yeah.
So not a lot of people are used to that, being in formation. So it wasn't bad. I've seen a lot worse. You can see here where I push you out to cruise. Now I give you that time and space. And a big theme with me and flying in DCS and being a flight lead a lot is giving yourself time and space, not rushing something, not allowing time compression to make it so you're in a bad situation. Now, you can't always do that. Things do happen sometimes out of your control, but I try to. So this is a really small example of I'm going to push you out to give you time and space, and now I'm going to ask you to fence in, right?
Yep.
And again, this is a more, as soon as we take off and we're out of the admin phase around a boat or the airfield, I'm going to put you in cruise because I don't care how close you fly to me. It's not the mission. We're not the Blue Angels, right? Yeah. One thing I did notice here is if you remember back to our discussion about cruise versus parade, pretty sure here you're far out, and so you're kind of out of position, you're not lined up right, but then I think you kind of violated and got sort of next to me. So if I were to turn suddenly, which, again, we're far apart, but if I were to turn suddenly towards you, I wouldn't have freedom of movement, right? Yeah. Because you need freedom of movement left and right here. I get that as well. It's a two-way street. So That's probably just flying in formation and being heads down, doing all the fence-in stuff.
Yeah, I know at one point, I forget where I was in the fence-in. I might have been setting codes on my bombs. I was heads down for an extended time, and you were actually behind my canopy rail and high. I drifted out of plane, and so that was that might have been right there where I lost you visually.
It was.
So yeah.
Yeah, I remember. And again, I'm not trying to make the biggest thing out of something, but I do want to point things out because they're important. There's a safety element here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You did notice it. You did correct it. You didn't do your lights on the fence in. It's very common. People don't either know that or don't do it. So no big deal. This flight is simple in many ways, but I can do little things like I did here. If you noticed, I told you to capture the waypoint. I told you at 20 miles to descend. I talked you through how to work through a bug, and I didn't shut up until 21 miles.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is seeing if you're ahead of or behind the jet. Now, you asked, which is fine. Always be safe versus just do it. My intent was, and if I wasn't clear, it's on me, to just have you drop on down, right? Just at
Fair
20
enough.
miles, drop down. But if you don't know, ask. You know what I mean? I'd always prefer you ask than just do something and it's like, no, it's not what I meant. So
Yeah.
as you can see, you did that well, which means you're thinking ahead of the jet a little bit, and that's a good thing. So I pushed this off to the right a little bit so that we could get into the left-hand pattern and talk on to our first target. You did a really good job. It was real simple, right? We just really essentially made maybe 2.5 movements with the targeting pod. All I really want to know is, do you know how to use those arrows in reference to what I'm saying and go north, east, west, or south? That's all I really care about for the first one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we did that. We talked about correlation, explained that to you. I think that seemed to make sense to you. I dropped a bomb to see if you would notice. I didn't know if you noticed or not, but I blew up the one next to yours.
Yeah, the northeast one. I did catch it. I just kind of assumed that you were doing your thing.
Yeah, it's okay. So you dropped your first one, and that hit no problem. I give you the second one just to switch targets because that is a really, really common thing. That, hey, now I want you to push to the, one to the east or whatever. Or they could say, hey, here's your target when you're, now I want you to take that and the tank to your east. So now you have 2 targets, right? You may do a reattack or whatever. Here's why we are vertically deconflicted. So you can be horizontally or vertically. Obviously, we're far apart, but had we been at the same altitude, this could have been a mishap or a potential mishap, but it's not.
And actually, so thinking back on this, there were one other thing that I need to get better at is orbiting. That I ended up kind of close to 6 or 8 most of the time. I think at one point I ended out at like 10. And then I think it was after the first or might have been the second drop, I went out to the right instead of the left. So I went southbound and then made a right turn back, so I was masked for half of that. So
Yeah.
definitely a couple of things to get more familiar with, just because I'm not used to doing the kind of orbit a fixed point and run in. So
Yeah, and that's just being in the overhead. Sometimes you can be out to a point over here in space you have to hold and work your targeting pod. The overhead is the easiest. It does. Using your auto throttle and your barometric altitude hold are your friend. So you just use those, and all you got to do is just a little slight turn and check that. And like anything, you should always be checking, hey, where's my bombs? Where's my friendly? Where am I? Oh, I need to turn a little more. I'm getting a little bit farther away. I'll roll 15 degrees, 20 degrees. Okay, did that for about a minute. Oh, we need to roll back. I'm getting a little bit too close, or whatever the case is. So it's just a pilot resource thing in the comfort zone with being in the overhead. Right? So we pushed you out, did that. No problem on the second one. Here's where we don't know what happened. That's my Maverick. This is your bomb. Because we went over to this frogfoot, which, by the way, calling the... so that frogfoot is a static. It doesn't show this way. So I know it's in that area. It must have just gone a little short, or maybe you didn't have it fused. But if you had one fused, you had them all. So maybe your laser was off?
yeah, because I've got my LTDR switch bound, so every time I drop, I just hit it. So I might have not hit it, but I might... I'm not certain.
Okay. Either way, minor switchology issue. Everyone I've known, for the most part, with very few exceptions, does a drop without their laser. I have wind wing panels. I didn't design it this way, but I turn my laser on and it forces it up, so I'm kind of spoiled. But I do check because occasionally, sometimes DCS will actually put the button back. It's rare, but I've had it happen. The next one. So had you entered in 8-digit grid before?
Yes.
And you knew the trick about putting a 0?
Yep. Yeah, because it's just, yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's still going to be 10 meter accurate instead of 1, but it'll get you close enough. You just got to convert it.
Well, the problem is you can enter a 6 or a 10. You can't enter an 8. I deliberately give you an 8, which means you have to do something. Otherwise, your grid's going to be way off. So when you have the 8, you just put the 0 at the end of the 4 digits I give you and make it a 5-digit, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we're doing a bomb on coordinate, that would be a different scenario, but we're doing a bomb on target and we're doing a correlation phase. So 10 meters doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Right? And then minor little thing, just, hey, when you talk about, give me a relation. You said, hey, there's 3, bombers down here. Great. One's in front of the other. Great. Give me a relation to where they are, right? A correlation.
Yeah.
Give me a context. Paint that picture. Hey, I got 2 bombers. They're facing southeast. They're about 20 meters from the runway. One's front to back. There's another one, behind it, facing generally west from the other ones. There's 3 bombers down there. Like, okay, now I'm looking at target pod. Yep, everything he says is right. So, because we went from the restrictive up here where we had the 6 smirches really close, right? And now we got to be extra careful. To a little more permissive, we had the frogfoot down here and a few in a line to talk about. And then we had some that were closer. We just need to distinguish in case there was one versus the other. But again, that's getting really precise with the correlation phase and something that I think is important to touch on, but I'm not going to harp on it. I'm just saying these are the reasons why we talk about it that way. So here's when I made my mistake with the speed brake on. Like, why am I not closing and having to go almost a burner? Pretty silly. So then I just had you follow me down. Try to be very smooth as a flight lead. Again, we are going to be landing up over here, right? And who was this? Oh, Fedge jumped in. He didn't tell us or come to chat. Okay, that's funny. So what I did here was I pushed us out and I got us, a good distance away, and then I brought us in and did a real smooth turn in, or at least try to be smooth, so that I'm setting my wingman up for success. I'm not going to just cut over here and try to dart in, right? I want to be a smooth flight lead, get you down into this position. Oh, did he come with us? That little sneaky bastard. He did. I didn't know. Did you know he was there?
I think I might have seen him on final after I touched down, but I might be mistaken.
That sneaky little bastard. That's funny. Anyhow, so we discussed, and long before this, we discussed the overhead brake. Again, different squadrons do different things. I've had people not use the speed brake and kind of end up, much closer to me than we want. So I just go through that to make sure we understand, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I do my brake. You said you pulled too hard. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I ended up on the inside of you. So if you look, I ended up a little bit on the inside of you for this. So I didn't end up perfectly behind you on the reciprocal.
Yeah. And I mean, you're cranking about 2 Gs for the speed. You don't have to be perfectly behind me. I intentionally go a little bit wide here, and I went to the right so I could look back and see you, because I don't know what's going on with the SA page. The new changes they've made, I haven't really flown since. So I kind of deviated right until I could look back and see you. You'll see right here, I'm looking behind. This line here is my track IR. I'm looking behind and I'm spotting you. I'm like, okay, we're clear. So I make my turn in. So probably wasn't as smooth as I would, but not knowing you and not having the SA page, I'm going to default to something extra that makes me feel safe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I turned in. You turned in. Fedge turns in. Oh, I see. He didn't. He was just playing and having fun. But see, he knows the drill. Yeah. He came in and did his stuff. So my first question to you is, and we'll just watch this a little bit just randomly. Anything in here I could have done better for you as a flight lead? Anything that made your flight easier or to understand what we were doing.
No, I don't think so. You were pretty good about being on top of calling stuff before you did it. There wasn't a whole lot of sudden, okay, I'm going to turn and you're just going to have to react. No, nothing really stands out to me.
In parade, I usually do a wing nod. I don't usually say it, but when I'm flying with somebody new and they're not used to how I do stuff, I always talk about what I'm going to do ahead of time. Again, I'm going to try to set you up for success and not give you the time compression issue and force you into a scenario of, oh my God, my flight lead just turned and I don't know what he's doing. I've never flown with him before. What is this psychopath up to, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So with that, I felt like you were with me the entire time. You understood what we were doing. I felt like you were learning some stuff in real time, which is fine and part of it. And I felt like very comfortable. I had checked your altitude a few times, and you seemed like you had maintained your altitude pretty well. And that's a really important key safety-wise. Obviously, talk-ons, working through the targets. Yeah, we could be real nitpicky about the one bomb, but those are minutia things that we can work out. It's the bigger picture things, the admin stuff that's actually harder to teach in the form flying and stuff like that. So I thought you did a good job. I think it's pretty clear you know the jet at least basically well. We can move forward. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, I can tell you it gets a lot worse. You want me to show you what it would look like?
Sure.
All right, give me just a second here.
Full disclosure, you do know I'm in the channel, right?
I do. We're on.
If you're going to show some.
Yeah.
If you're going to show something tasteless of me, then
Well, there's a lot of that to go
I
through.
expect. Yeah, I'm just saying.
We don't have time in this stream to go through all your tasteless stuff. Anyhow, welcome Spook to the stream. All right. So you can see this, correct?
Yes.
So just to let you know what you're getting in for before you agree. To me, I think the best part of us is that everyone here strives to build their individual skills and pull the rope in the same direction. And by doing that, we fill the DCS sandbox with competent people and toys. I would say the learning curve is kind of steep. Think of us as kind of a squadron underway aboard a carrier. We have 2 regular flight nights. Many guys here, I call them junkies. They fly multiple nights a week. We have multiple squadrons. There's no silos. There's no closed channels. You're welcome to join any voice channel that you want. Just be respectful if they're training or flying and don't interrupt them. You can ask questions if they can handle it, right?
Yep.
There are a bunch of links here to give you an idea of what the future would be. So this is our flight nights. This is the name we talked about in the squadron, as you can see if we're in Discord. Talked about comms, some carrier stuff, whatever. This is all just basic admin things. The next 2 flight is admin flight, where we do formation flying, tack turns, aero refueling, and case 1 recovery, which is a lot. Right?
Yep.
Did I ask you before if you're comfortable with refueling in the air?
No, but I am.
Okay.
I know it's some of the formation I'm probably going to need some work on, but I've got the gist down. I can do it reliably. So.
Well, we work on formation flying in the air. We literally go up, and I'm going to fly straight and at the same speed and with barometric altitude. I'm going to roll left a few times and have you get used to doing that and just flying general form. Show you kind of the type of turns we would do in the case 1 recovery, right?
Yep.
So we'll talk about the pattern. The next one is flying like we did today, but holding an IP or a keyhole, so not in the overhead, but a point away from, and using your targeting pod and talk-ons, which is a bit more difficult. We have tools. We have all these links here will help you with different carrier ops things, the different training server briefings that we have, bunch of information, how we do stuff. So for instance, when we talk about airspace awareness, so basically holding a spot and moving off. So like holding over here at south and being able to use your targeting pod. We have a bunch of training, and here's a good tool one of our guys made without me even asking, talking about how to make a custom sequence And so you end up with something like this in the jet where you have a line that shows you where you're supposed to be and where your target is, or where you're supposed to stay between two waypoints, or however that's going to be set up. So we show you tools that help you with this. Not we just expect you to know how to do it.
Yep.
Right. And have you ever used your HSI like this, where you can set up a custom sequence and set up points so you know in space where you need to be in relation to it?
Not on the fly. I have used sequences before, but it's typically like a set it on the ground and fly it thing.
Yeah, so here it's actually showing you to use pre-existing waypoints, but we'll get into that a different day. The main point I'm trying to show you here, we have lots of tools to set you up for success. So we ask for a lot, and we go right into close air support and all of that kind of stuff. So to set the expectation, there's a lot to get through. And we do it, at your pace, but we try to get through it. So if, you're a masochist and a junkie like us and you want to join, I'd happily make you a candidate.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Awesome. Well, for the stream purposes, I thank everyone for joining. This has been a FAM Flight. Just try to show how we do it, get to know a little bit about us and teamwork. If you like this video, give it an upvote, a thumbs up, I guess. And the link for our Discord is down there if you want to get to know more about us. I thank you for watching.